the way my parents parented was very much like, we don't fight around the kids. We don't ever say anything around them. There was no, like, we didn't know anything. We didn't know about any allegations. We didn't know. We had no awareness of that.
Riley Keough is getting candid. The granddaughter of Elvis Presley sat down with Alex Cooper for the January 15th episode of Call Her Daddy, where she opened up about a range of personal topics, including her childhood, famous family, how she handles grief, and her late mother Lisa Marie Presley's relationship with Michael Jackson. In the beginning of the episode, the 35-year-old discussed how she ended up finishing her mother's memoir.
This book came to be because my mother was in the middle of writing her autobiography. And in December, she came to me and said, you know, I need help. Like, she didn't really, I think she just got to a point where she was feeling frustrated and she didn't like talking about herself. So writing an autobiography was difficult. And she asked if I would help her. And then she passed away a month later. So I just found myself, like, it was just this thing that I had to do. So I just completed her memoir, which was, you know, very intense.
How long did it take you?
Oh my gosh. Probably about a year. That when I started working on the book, it was only like 3-4 months after she'd passed away. So it was very like intense, and I didn't really want to be doing it, to be honest. It felt like this thing I had to complete. And so I was a little bit resistant in the beginning, and it's also like it's very out of my comfort zone to write a story or tell all of the things, like my family's personal, all these vulnerable things about my family.
Right.
It's not something that I would do otherwise, you know? So there was a lot, I felt very, very resistant, but ultimately I was doing it for her, and it's what she wanted. And I knew how much she wanted to finish her autobiography and share her story, so people could understand her more.
While speaking about her childhood, Riley shared what it was like growing up in a famous lineage, revealing that everything was very secretive and private, and also shared that she had a rebellious phase as a teen, similar to her mother.
Particularly in my family growing up and with my mom, she was extremely private. She hated talking to the press. She didn't want to be famous. Like, she was born into a situation she really didn't enjoy. And growing up in the world we grew up in was very private, very secretive, very like everything was a security issue. Like, there was no talking to friends about things. Like, our family stuff was, you know, everything was very private. So it was a lot of, I had to push through that sort of uncomfortable feeling of like sharing all of this information. But the other thing is like, as a person, I'm a very honest person. And I also couldn't imagine, so was she, like she was uncomfortably honest. Yeah. So I think I couldn't have imagined a version of her book where she didn't, you know, share all of these things.
Yeah. And like go all in.
Yeah.
Your baby photo was sold for $300,000 on the cover of People magazine. Like, that is insane.
What's insane is like $300 then was like
$300,000.
$300,000. Sorry, $300 it was like $1 million. Like, yes, close to $1 million.
Like, you're so wanted.
Well, used to be.
Can you, like, looking back at your childhood, obviously growing up in this famous family, what is something that was definitely not normal that like you got pretty used to because you were just like, oh, I thought this was our reality?
Like all of it. You know, like if I like shared the day-to-day growing up, it would probably be like, you know, crazy to
give us a little, come on.
Well, it was just a lot of like like it was very like high security, and like if we're going somewhere, it was like lots of people following us and very like intense and chaotic. And like she had like her rebellious moment. I also had that, like where I would sneak out and you know, hang out with people I wasn't allowed to, and getting arrested, and you know.
You got arrested?
I did.
I did. I've
never said that.
No. You're like, wait, this is why a publicist is supposed to come.
Where's my publicist?
Come in. No one's here to save you. Wait, that's kind of like
I was arrested once. Yeah.
Is it a good mugshot?
I never saw it.
What?
I know.
You need to make t-shirts.
I know. I was a minor, so luckily I think it was like.
Oh, so it's like an underage?
Yeah. It was for.
Oh God.
I can't say this.
Oh.
It was for breaking and entering.
Oh my, what? Where?
So
Ooh.
it was actually. So I went to a party at my friend's house.
Okay.
But I didn't know that it wasn't my friend's house. It was a house for sale.
Oh.
And so most people, like the police came, and most people like got away, and then about 10 of us got arrested. My mom was pissed.
Did she try to like get it not in the papers?
No, she was like, "This is on you, girl."
The actress then shared rare insight into her mother's relationship with Michael Jackson, calling the ex's love for each other genuine.
When you were 5, your parents got divorced because your mom wanted to marry Michael Jackson. How was this explained to you as a kid, like that they were getting divorced?
So my mom, we were in Florida, and I was sitting on her lap, and she said, me and your dad are getting a divorce. And I took, like, the way I received it was that he wasn't my dad anymore. And it was like, it's so memorable to me because I just was destroyed. I didn't understand what a divorce was. So I just thought, like, he's not my dad now. But the great thing was shortly after, like, they were so close and they really cared about keeping them, you know, our family dynamic the same. So he was at our house and staying over. And so he was there a lot. So I think I kind of forgot about it.
So on top of like your family already being obviously so famous, how did your life get even crazier when Michael entered the picture? Because he had his own slew of like paparazzi and people following him and a media empire essentially.
Our life wasn't crazier because that was already there. That already existed, like the press and the crazy, the paparazzi and the, you know, all that. But her life, I think when she saw Michael's life, there were things that he had that she didn't have. Like she didn't have a plane at the time, or, you know, things like that. And so she then was like, oh, I should have a plane, and I should have a, you know, this and that. And so our life in that way kind of got bigger. Because before that she was with my dad, and my dad, their life was very simple. Not with the press and the craziness, but in terms of like at home, like she didn't have 10 million assistants, and, you know, she didn't need all of that. And I think that changed.
How did your mom try to protect you and your brother from the paparazzi during all this?
It's so funny because I get tagged in these photos all the time where we're wearing like a hat and glasses. And I'm like, what does that do? Like, it's so weird.
Stunning.
Like a hiding our, I don't know. Like, I guess they attempted to hide our faces, but it was like impossible.
What is the most like extravagant thing Michael did for you and your brother?
There was a lot of like closing down things for us. Well, it was kind of like the only way that our family could do things. Like if we wanted to go to a toy store or like something like that, like, or ride rides, or, you know, so it wasn't that, I don't know if it was necessarily done for us or if just for like our family situation where we had to shut the, you know, the toy stores and stuff. But there was one memorable time in London where we were in the toy store, so it was just my brother and I in the whole toy store, and we were just like going floor to floor to floor and like filling up our thing.
She went on to say she was never told anything in regards to the abuse allegations against the Thriller singer.
Were there any adults in your life that were like, wait, I don't know if you should be spending time at Neverland. I don't know if we want you to be there. Like, was your dad nervous?
I was never told anything. So even and it's actually not something I ever asked as an adult.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I think it just like was what it was. Like I don't know. It just never came to mind, I guess. I would imagine that my dad was really heartbroken and reading the news, and I'm sure that, I'm just imagining.
Of course.
I would imagine he said all kinds of things to my mom, you know, that we didn't know about, but nothing like the way my parents parented was very much like, we don't fight around the kids. We don't ever say anything around them. There was no, like, we didn't know anything. We didn't know about any allegations. We didn't know. We had no awareness of that.
As an adult, when you look back on that time of your life, like, how do you feel about it now?
I mean, the one thing I know is that they were in love and that their love for one another was genuine, because I was there and I remember. Everything else, like, I don't know because I wasn't there for.
The 35-year-old also got candid about addiction in her family.
Well, I've had a lot of family members who have had addiction issues that I will and won't say on air because it's their personal, story, but more than just my mother. And it's been a really interesting life because I've been surrounded in a way with people suffering from addiction, but there's never anything I can really do about it. And it's I found myself kind of going like, what is the lesson here? Like, to be around people harming themselves and nothing I do will change it. And so the only thing that I could do was surrender to what is,
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, with my mom, it was years of me trying to drag her into, rehab or get her help, or like so much effort, and thinking like this is going to be effective every time, and not really being present in the fact that the person sitting across from me is not participating in my plan, So I just was, I tried really hard to, keep all of these plates spinning. And then ultimately it resulted in addiction sort of resulted in the loss of 2 of my family members.
Yeah.
I was kind of forced to surrender. And I think that it's a really hard line because you can't do nothing, because you feel like, you have to.
Right.
Someone you love is suffering. You have to do everything you can to help alleviate the suffering. So I wouldn't necessarily take back all of the effort that I put in, but it's just a weird lesson in I don't know. I actually don't know.
She then continued, also sharing about how she processes grief.
The only step that I've actively taken is to feel my feelings.
It's a good step. That's a good step,
Which
girl.
is a lot harder than it sounds.
Yes.
And some of them have been extremely unbearable. And whether that's grief or anxiety, sadness, I think that feeling my feelings has been the only conscious thing that I've done, and trying to be present in my feelings. I really leaned on people who had similar experiences because it felt so isolating. I had friends who had lost loved ones in various ways, and I found that to be the most comforting because I just wanted them to tell me that I was going to be okay, from someone who'd experienced it, and say, you're going to survive this. And because in the moment itself, particularly losing my brother, I didn't see a way that I could. So I wanted to just talk to people who had lost a sibling, had lost someone in a sort of more shocking sort of way, like the way I lost my brother, people who had experienced suicide. I just wanted to hear just from them. But then I had an amazing group of friends around me and husband. But it's a really isolating experience.
Plus, the actress called friend and fellow A-lister Zoe Kravitz during the episode, who described the type of friend she is.
Okay, so I'm on a podcast and they asked me to call a friend to describe how you would describe me.
As a friend.
As a friend.
As a friend, I would describe you as a ride or die. You are down for whatever. You will always show up all the time. You're very consistent. I feel like me and you will not talk or see each other for 6 months, and then it's we just pick up where we left off. And I think you're really good at keeping secrets.
Gonna tell those on this pod.
Actually. And you're incredibly loyal. Aww. And you're funny. You're funny as hell. And you're honest.
Keep going.
You always text me back.
That's so cute.
It's true.
Thanks,
These are all
so.
the things I think. You're welcome.
All right. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.